Hello everyone, this is Sarah again, and this is my second screencast for how to use Etoys. In my first screencast, we learned all about the supply box, how to make our own project, and we started to get into using this sketch tool. And today we're going to finish up how to use the sketch tool, and I'm also going to teach you all how to save a project so that you can open it later, and also about different halos. And if you don't know what a halo is right now, that is perfectly okay, because by the end of this video, you will know what a halo is. So at the very end of my last screencast, I started to talk about a concept called drawing in layers, which is basically the idea that if you want to have one object that has separate moving parts, you're going to need to save them in separate pieces using the sketch tool. And that's very difficult to understand if I'm just speaking in words, so I'm going to show you an example. So let's say I have some objects from my last screencast, this flower and my sun, and let's say I just want to add some clouds and a sky in the background. So I'm going to click on my sketch tool, and I'm going to use the paint tool, and I'm going to make a blue sky. I'm going to grab some white, and I'm going to draw some clouds. All right, so we have two clouds right here. I'm going to fill these in with white. There we go. I'm going to hit keep because I like my work. So here we have a little bit of a problem here. So let's say that I wanted the background to be blue, which we have here, and we want these white clouds, but I want to move the clouds separately. But I can't really do that because these all move as a unit. As you can see, if I want to move one cloud, I'm moving both clouds and the sky with it. So a solution to this would be, I'm actually going to throw this away right now into the trash can if we can get that to cooperate with me. Sometimes you have to kind of play with it. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to reopen the paint tool, and I'm going to make my sky separate. So as you can see down here, a little side note here, are all the colors that we've recently used. You can see the white from my clouds, the blue from my sky before, the yellow from my sun, green from my flower, etc. So I want to have the same colored sky as before, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that in the whole screen and keep it. And I can actually move this so that the sun is on top of my cloud. There we go. Right there. And now I can draw my clouds separately, which are going to be a little bit tricky to see. So I'm going to actually outline them in black or this dark gray color and fill it in with white. So now I have a moving cloud that I can place anywhere I want. And if I want another cloud, I can do the exact same thing. Drawing a cloud, fill it in white, keep it, and now I can move all of the objects exactly where I want them. Whereas before, when I had drawn all of the clouds and the sky all in the same layer, then I had to move all of them as one unit, whereas now I can move everything separately, and I like it much better. All right, so I hope that makes sense for how to draw in layers, which is a really important concept when it comes to making scripts and making your objects move, which is going to be our next video. So just keep that in mind for now. I'm going to show you a couple more fine nuances of the sketch tool, and then we'll move on to learning the halos. So if we're going to open up the sketch tool again, I'm going to draw another flower because I think that'll be good. So as you can see, like I said before, these are the recently used colors. So in case you want to, remain constant in what you're doing with the same colors, you can pick a new color. I kind of want a pink flower now. Can draw that. All right. So let's say I really like my flower, and I want to make multiple copies of this flower. So one way to do that is actually to use something called the stamp tool. So you're going to go down here, you're going to click on the stamp, and you can make a rectangle right here around the object that you want it to be a stamp, and then I can make multiple copies of this stamp. Now, the catch here is that this is very similar to the grab patch or the lasso tool that I showed you directly from this supply box. But the catch here with using the stamp tool is that you can only use the stamp tool inside the little frame of the sketch box that I already showed you last time. So as you can see here, like I am getting cut off by the edge of the paint tool because there's only a certain amount of space that the paint tool colors, and this ends up turning into one giant layer. So if I were to keep this project, it turns into one huge layer of flowers, which like isn't necessarily bad, but in this case it doesn't do a lot for my picture. So I'm actually just going to throw this away. And but now you know how to use the stamp tool if that's something that you ever want to use. If we click, so we got the stamp tool from right here. If you click down here on the other side, there are a bunch of different shapes that come up. You can make a little rectangle, the little tool like this. You can change the color as well. You can make a star. We can make, I want something yellow. Oh, that's very similar to the color we had before, actually. All right, we can make a polygon. This one's cool because all these little angles are going to come up and you can move them in any way you want. Make different polygons on top of that, as you can see. We also have a circle. We can shape that however we want. And a line. All right. So we can clear the whole board to start over, and then to get rid of the paint tool, you can hit toss, and it's going to ask, do you really want to throw away what you just painted? And you can say keep painting or throw it away. So in this case, I'm going to throw it away. So that's basically all of the tools within your sketch box. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, there's one more that we did not go over, which is the paint dropper. So let's say I'm really into this blue color out here for the sky, and I already used it in a previous painting, but for whatever reason it's been so long that it's actually not showing up on one of my recently used colors, which is not the case in this video, but pretend for my sake of argument that it is. So what you can do is you can take this ink dropper and you can touch it to any point on your screen, even if it's outside your little box where the sketch tool is, and you can get that exact color. So here, if I really like, for example, this gray of the Etoys kind of handlebar up there, I can click that and it uses this exact shade right there in the paint, and it turns into your paint tool, and now you have a color that's exactly the same as this color up here. All right, I hope that makes sense. So we're going to clear that, toss it, and that's it for our paint tool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about halos. So halos, if you don't really understand what they are, basically you can find halos by right-clicking on any of your objects on the screen, and all of these little funny buttons come up. So we're going to go through and talk about what each of these little funny buttons does. And it might not seem important now, but like I said, in the future, these buttons are going to be really important when we're going to start to program our projects so that they have range of motion and they do exactly what they want us to do. So as you can see, this object is called sketch down here, and that's just because we haven't named it. So if we, if we go ahead and click on this text, it works very similarly to the text that we got out of the supply box. So it turns green, and then you can type and name it anything you want. I've just named it flower. In this case, it doesn't really seem very important for us to be labeling our objects because we can obviously tell what they are, but eventually they all turn into sketch 1, sketch 2, sketch 3 if we don't name them, and it gets very confusing if you're having a test or a program that involves multiple projects and you don't remember which one is sketch 1, sketch 2, sketch 3, etc. So we're going to kind of go around. This little X right here deletes the object, which I'm not going to do right now because we are obviously using it, although it is very easy to get an object out of the trash can, and we'll talk about that in another video. This object this little halo brings up the menu, which sends it to back. So say if we send the flower to the back, it puts it behind the sky, which we can easily get again by moving the sky right here. If we right click again, there's all sorts of different things that are in this menu here, which are not important right now, and they'll get more important again as our videos become more complicated. If we click on, sometimes it's a little tricky. Okay. This object is the grab object. So in case for whatever reason you want to use this halo to pick up your object instead of just clicking on the object and moving it, there you go. This object right here makes a duplicate. Again, very similar to the lasso, the grab patch, or the stamp tool, but this is a much easier way to access it. So now we have lots of different copies. As you can see, the text tool is changing it from flower to flower 1, flower 2, and flower 3. So this little halo right here is called the redraw or the repaint button. So let's say you decide that you want to make a change to this painting that you've made, but you don't want to start over from scratch. You can hit the repaint tool and it'll open up that object with the paint tool again and say I want to add, I want to change it to be a purple flower. There you go. And we can keep that, and there you go. You can do anything you want. This one resizes the object. You can make it really small. You can make it really big. You can flip it around, that kind of a thing. This one is a rotating halo, so you can move my flower around so that it has a different angle, for example. This makes a tile representing the object, which says flower 3, which, if you want to label that here. Again, it comes in more handy for more complicated scripts and things. So this tile doesn't really do anything for us right now, but it would in future circumstances. If we right click again to get on our halos, this is called the viewer, which opens up a whole set of tests and little buttons that we're going to use in our future video that talks about moving the flower if we were going to use it to change location or to do anything that we ask it to do. But for right now, we're going to collapse it, which is this little halo here, so that the viewer doesn't get in our way. And there we go. That's the collapse halo that we just talked about when we just used the viewer. And that's basically all of our halos that we're going to talk about. So basically, halos are useful for changing little things about the object. We can open, the viewer is very important for the future, and redrawing, this has to do with making small changes. We can resize, we can rotate, make a tile, delete, collapse, open up a menu, and duplicate the object, all with just right-clicking on the object, which is really cool because you have all of these very important capabilities just by right-clicking on the object, and it's very close and very handy to have all of them very close. So I hope you learned something in this video. Our next video, we're going to talk all about the viewer, and we're going to start to talk about how to make our objects move so that they're not just plain objects on our screen. So it was great having this video, and I will catch you later.